you.
It's good to see.
I'm proud
Good
of
to
you.
think about it. Oh, I'm proud of you. It's a lot of work. I
It
enjoy
is,
it.
but we had Libby had a birthday last week, turned 17, and our basement was full of high school kids that were down there playing music, and it's those times that when we see kids worshiping and playing music, it's like, come on, let's get this done,
Oh
so
yeah.
that
So they can use it.
they can
Really,
use it and we can pour into these kids.
that's one of the things that, and I don't know how God's going to work all that out, but they feel like that we have kids that feel like this is their own
mm,
to be able to use.
mhm,
That they
mhm.
will feel like we're doing this so that they can use this
Yep.
for years to come.
Yes, I mean, this goes way past even Libby. Like, I hope it's a place where Libby can come back and serve. But this goes um, far beyond which, I think after Sarah died, um, you were thinking we would probably sell this house. Like,
Oh
you're
yeah, I
like, we
thought
don't need
that.
this big place.
I thought we would sell this house when we were all here, when the girls got out of high school, and we would downsize. I mean, this house is way too big for us, and
But now
we're staying.
yeah, it seems like God has a plan and a purpose for
I don't
this
know what we're going to do
property.
with the big house, but I have to have some people come stay with us. I don't know, something.
Well, he knows, and
Yep.
we're okay with that. It's really whatever he wants for his kingdom. And the word that keeps coming back to my mind for the barn that God whispered to me, and as I've heard so many times, is the barn is a gate. It really is a gate to his presence and to the eternal, to heaven. And um, yeah, I'm just really
It's a
excited
gate
about.
for heaven to come to earth.
Yes, yep, very clearly that's a word
In that
has been spoken over
that
it.
can get weird.
But um,
But that's okay.
we're okay with
That's
weird.
what, yeah, that's what he wants to do. That's what we want.
Yeah.
It's
All right. Well,
any other stories we want to share about God being?
not yet. No.
Building a barn. I'll think about it. Just Kevin and Jennifer and them, and that realization was a big one, and then the lift, that was a big one, and the posts and beams was a good one. Oh, we
We've
didn't
had
share
many.
anything about the insulation. That whole.
Yeah.
You
We have
want to
more.
share
We
that?
have more stories.
We definitely do. That one
Our
needs to share.
engineer. That was a story.
Oh yeah,
We
the
have lots of
engineer. We
stories.
do. We have.
We have lots of stories, but we want it. We don't want the video to be.
Well, you don't have to show it all. You can cut it. We need to get that engineer thing on recorded. When we first, as we were tearing the barn down, we went to the county to pull a permit to put it up. And when we went there, they're used to a pole barn, new pole barn. They do that all the time. They know what needs to happen with that. Well, we're tearing down an early 1900s barn, and they're like, "You're doing what? You're going to move a barn?"
Yeah.
They had never done it before.
There were no boxes that even applied on the permit questionnaires about things.
So they didn't know. They're like, "You're going to have to hire an engineer, and that engineer, literally, you're going to tell us how you're going to do it, but you have to hire an engineer to do that." And we're like, okay. So we looked for an engineer for a while. We went through. We had contacted one. We felt like this was going to be the guy. I felt like that it was going to be the guy, and some of our friends did. And so we talked to him a couple of times, and it didn't work out. He gave us the name of some other people, and that didn't work out. And then we got a name from, who was it from?
From Keith Maddox at the bridge.
Yeah, Keith gave a name to Kim as she had reached out on this. So we get a hold of Bob, down in, and he is Southern Indiana guy down by Deputy. Um, and I call him and I said, "Hey, we're moving an old barn." I just gave him a brief story, or not even a story, just told him what we were doing. Said, "Hey, is this something you're interested in doing?" And he was like, "Oh yeah." He says, "I love dealing with barns and old buildings." It's kind of was his thing. It was his
Mhm.
kind of the avenue that he was working through or worked through a lot. So he was like, "Sure,
Yeah.
when can?" And I just set up a time when I was so happy to have somebody that would just
That would say yes
say yes.
and
I'm
not be
like,
intimidated by it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
He met us at the barn and
yeah, we met
was
on a
so
Wednesday.
encouraging because he saw the potential and he commented right away how much good lumber he saw and then just reassured us about how strong that native timber that's aged like that, which you've learned
Oh
when you try
yeah,
to cut through
it's
it.
kind of crazy the difference in dealing with an 8x8 that's as old, and that oak and
And I think he said once he learned that
different woods,
we
man,
were
it's
gonna like
strong.
wrap it in metal and the way we were gonna do it, he's like, well, you're building a hurricane proof building, like
Yeah.
it will be super sturdy. But yeah, we come to find out once he arrived to the property to look at the barn. um,
We
I
get out of
was
the vehicle and Kim asked me
I said, how much did you tell him about our story? And
why we're doing this, and I'm like, well, I haven't told him anything. I just he said he'd
yeah,
look at it, and I was like, okay.
and whenever that happens, I'm always like, I got this. Like, oops, I shouldn't touch my microphone, but I was like, okay, I got this. So I proceeded to tell Bob then about Sarah's cancer and losing her and how this all transpired and what we're doing with young people and just tears instantly down his face. And I think he reached out and hugged me,
Yeah.
told me he was sorry. We learned that he had been a youth group mentor in his church for like 25 years. But then also, we learned that he has done multiple mission trips to like the Ukraine and Haiti and some other places around the world where they actually through the Wood-Mizer company um, take a sawmill basically
Yeah,
and they
Wood-Mizer
timber the
actually
mills.
um, donated and sent to another country uh, so that they could build
Churches.
churches with
Mm-hmm.
with their Wood-Misers, and just so that they could saw the lumber that was there to build churches with.
Yep.
Super neat.
They build that all like in post and beam style and yeah, like um so he has, first of all, he's a Christian, and I think he said that, oh, we've been here 5 minutes and we're going to talk about God. Oh, goody,
Yeah.
um and then we find out that he loves young people, and then we find out he has lots and lots of experience with barns basically. And I just remember at the end of the conversation, he's like, you're going to treat me, I want you to treat me like you're paying me thousands of dollars, but you're not going to pay me a dime.
Yeah.
So he helped us with all the
Super neat.
plans and all the paperwork that we needed. um, and I know he would still be willing to help us if we had
Oh, if we
any
still
sort
need,
of
yeah.
structural problems or whatever. But um, yeah, that was just like one of the
Super cool.
first really cool God stories that and so you want to tell the other story about the
Installation.
insulation, the plywood king?
It really one of the things that's neat is when we tell the story, when you share the testimony of the story, that God will move people. I've seen this with fishing. It's the only other time I've seen it, when I have a fishing spot that God shared with us. And when I share that story in that spot, um, it's super neat. I've been there and done that and had super cool things happen when I share the story. Fish just, they feed. So, but so we go to pick up, we need insulation to go under, the blue board insulation to go under the floor. Um, 4 foot. You have to have 4 foot wide. We done a footer, so we had to do the side of the footer and then 2 foot in.
This is under the concrete floor, not a
under the
wood floor.
under the concrete. Before you pour it, you had to put it in. So we are looking on Facebook for this, and
We thought we would just get used because with building
Yeah.
materials going up,
it went up like, well, it was, I think it was like $12, and it went to $60 a sheet. So
yeah, we were like, well, let's just try to find some
Yeah.
recycled on Facebook Marketplace.
so and we didn't really care. I mean, it was in, you're not going to see
It's
it
going to be buried.
under the concrete. So we looking on Marketplace, and we actually find some in Frankfort, Indiana, where a guy's got some for sale. And we're like, well, let's go get that. And that morning, that happened. I'm getting the story mixed up. I called a place in, where's it at?
Like
The name of-
Ellettsville, Spencer area, down on the other side of Bloomington. It's called Plywood King.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember the town that it was in. Wasn't Ellettsville? Was it Spencer? It was Spencer. I think it was Spencer. It had a Spencer address, but it's out in the country.
Out
But
in the
I called
middle of nowhere.
Plywood King on a Friday morning and just asked
Because
them
they
what they
als-
had.
They
and-
were also advertising on Facebook Marketplace.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure they had the right stuff, but if it turned out that they did, I called them and said, hey, this is what we're doing. Do you have blue board installation for this? And he's like, yeah, sure, we do. And I want to, I think it came out to be like $15 a sheet from them. And then we came home that night. I had called them, said, hey, we'll be over in the morning. Came home that night, and there was a guy on Facebook that was selling it for $10 a sheet
In Frankfurt.
in Frankfurt.
So an hour and a half north or an hour and a half south.
Yeah, it was same distance, same
Mhm.
gas money, all that stuff. But so we're like, okay, Kim, I'm like, I called the people for the $10 a sheet in Frankfurt that night, or I messaged them on
Yeah,
Facebook.
because you were wanting to go Friday, and
Yeah,
he
I'm like,
didn't
well,
really
let's-
want us to.
Yeah, he was like, no, I can't do it Friday. I said, well, can you do it in the morning? He says, yeah. So we get up that next morning, and Kim's like, I feel like we're supposed to go to Spencer.
Yeah.
And she had a prompting that she felt like we should go to Spencer. And I'm like, okay, let me pray about this and just figure out. And I was like, okay, I think we are supposed to go to Spencer. So we go. I call the people back from Facebook and tell them we're not going to be there. I'm like, I figured it up. I think it was like $200 more if we go to Spencer, but we felt like that's where God wanted us to go. So that's what we done.
Yeah.
We go to Spencer, we load this stuff, meet them. We go load it up on the truck. Got it all loaded up, and we come back down to their office where we got to pay. And we go in, and there's people in front of us who have
They had like a flatbed trailer.
Yeah,
They
they have
got
a
there at
big load of
exactly the same
stuff.
time, but they were buying so much more than us,
yeah.
which was fine. You know, we weren't in a hurry, but we had to wait on them to be.
They were standing in line to pay in front of us. So it was the owner of the place, this couple, and then us standing in his office. And he had his back to us. We're just doing computer, just making out bills on the computer. And he was talking to them about their stuff. And I asked the question to the couple, to the gentleman of the couple, and I just asked him what they were doing. What, are you guys building the shop, or what are you doing? And I could tell by the installation that he had. I felt like that they were, and they were building a new shop, and they were putting insulation. They were putting heating in the floor, so they were insulating underneath the concrete.
Yeah.
So he shares with that. Well, he gets done sharing what they're doing. He says, "Hey, what are you guys building? What are you doing?" And I just kind of smile, because I know when we share this story how God moves. And I'm like, okay, here we go, Lord. We felt like you want us to come here, so here it is.
Yeah, you just smiled and looked at me, and I was like, I got this. So I proceeded to tell them about Sarah and how we were feeling led to to move this barn and rebuild it. And you know, the lady
The
the lady
owner of the place is sitting there typing up their bill, and with his back to us. And Kim gets about 15 seconds in,
yeah,
and he
he
just turns around and
swivels around.
starts paying. I mean, God moves him is what
Yeah,
happens, and
yeah.
he
And the
just
lady had tears running down her face, and the other guy was just kind of speechless. And um, the the owner looks at me and he goes, "I can tell you right now, you can just put your checkbook away. You ain't paying for a thing today."
right,
Like, and then he proceeds to tell us that um, that's a Christian-owned business and that they're very involved with missions. I think Liberia, like,
yeah.
and then he's
I think it
telling,
was his dad had been there several
yeah,
times.
they actually have apartments here where people from there come to the States just for, like, to help raise support for them. And
Yeah,
um, but yeah, he it was very moved by what we were doing, and it even offered for future building materials that we work with them, that they will, help take care of us. Now we haven't gotten that far yet, but we
yeah,
definitely appreciated his generosity, and um, could potentially be going there for more supplies if we need to. So,
yeah.
and then the other neat thing about that story, do you remember how the lady then proceeded to tell me that her best friend actually had just lost her son in a tragic, it was a hiking accident. And so I shared my blog information with her about Grace and Grieving, and she was able to, she was going to give that to her friend just because she didn't know how to help support her friend through that loss. So, um, you know, we just walked away again, just kind of shaking our head at the way that God just had led us there instead of north.
Oh yeah,
And
it's just super neat.
um,
Just like,
it
okay,
was a divine appointment, as these
yeah,
things normally are. We also haven't talked about
no, we
Travis
haven't.
Starnes,
Yeah,
our concrete guy.
he. I'm so thankful for Travis. I'm really appreciate him, and just his his relationship with God, and he is a caring dude. He has followed. He knew about the
Yeah, I
Sarah
think he
story
followed us
kind
on,
of as it was happening.
yeah,
Yeah, he
followed
knew.
our journey.
Um, but he has been very generous to us as well through, and he is the guy who done the concrete. We poured the footers ourselves, but he poured the slab and arranged all of the concrete for the whole facility. And
Yeah. So
I
hopefully,
think about Barry and Becky
oh
and
yeah,
the help that Barry has been through this whole
yes,
process. They're super good friends of ours, but
yeah,
see the same vision that we see in it for God. And Barry has early on with all the stuff at building and zoning, he deals with them all the time as construction. So
yeah,
I went in, he went with me on all those visits to get all that stuff worked out. And also he has been where God wasn't working in those as much, or where he's just done so much building stuff that he knows that, hey, if you have to get variances because of different things, it takes a
yeah,
long time. So he was
yeah. We didn't have
it's
to do
like super neat
that.
stuff going on.
And Mike Morrow, like God,
Oh yeah,
our
the
our friend Mike, he's been such a blessing with figuring out how to tag things and a whole system, and then don't hit your microphone, dear. And then built the little model for us that we're
yep,
using to kind of help guide where all the puzzle pieces go. So, and he's been here helping you
yep.
physically as well. So,
Yeah, he has a lot of time in the model and all that. And I will say that model is being used. Like when we're redoing beams,
mhm,
I need the model to figure out what goes where and what
it's like your
ties
map.
to it. Oh yeah, it's just it is the map to the puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
and what we need to do with this beam or that beam based on where it goes and all that stuff. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
super neat.
Yeah.
That has been a great help. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well,
God's putting people in the right places for it for sure. We're excited to see what He's going to do with it when it's
Yeah.
finished.
yes.
We have miraculous stories as it's being built. We know He's building it,
Yeah.
and we're just excited to see what He's going to do
Yep.
with it.
Yep. Yep. We'll just keep plugging away, letting Him lead it and guide it. So,
Not
alright.
as fast as we want.
No, but it's gonna be done right.
Yeah, it is. It's special. It'll be a special wood structure when we get done. It's gonna be super neat. It's cool.
Yep.
So,
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Look, Paris laid right there beside you the whole time.
I know.